Hey, it's David Farmer, and today we're going to be looking at the desking process and how it has changed over the decades. Now, if you're like me and you've been in the business a long time, you'll know that prior to the 1990s, most dealerships desked with either a difference figure or a Foursquare. So let's just give a little bit of context of what we're talking about here. Now, when I first started selling cars at the dealership that I was at, we only closed on a difference. It didn't matter what the discount was. It didn't matter what the trade value was. It didn't matter what the payment or down payment was. The only thing we were supposed to talk about as salespeople was the trade difference. So let's take a quick look at how that would look. So once I got a customer all excited about buying a car and they're interested, they took a test drive, we got them back into the dealership and we started writing them up in the process. Of course, we're going to capture the customer's contact information, their name, their number, the trade information, go through a trade appraisal process, usually after the test drive. And then we get to the point where we want to present figures. And the figures that were provided to us as salespeople, generally speaking, looked something like this. We had an MSRP of, let's say, $21,000. That's what Camrys were back in the day. And we would be trading for a certain figure. Let's say it was 14,000 plus. So that is the way that we would be desked deals or penciled deals. And then we would have to go back to the customer and say, hey, congratulations, this is the vehicle that you want to buy. All you need to do is give me your okay right here, and we'll go ahead and have you sit down with somebody in the finance department to discuss what the payments were going to be. That works. Let me just go ahead and get your signature. That's kind of how it was. Now, for me, as a salesperson, I knew that that is something that I struggled with. I struggled with the ability to be able to present figures to customers that way. And what I wanted to be able to do is have a logical conversation with a customer about the purchase of their vehicle. And as we moved forward in time, we were able to move to that with a piece of software that I developed back in the late 90s and then ultimately brought to the marketplace. Now, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what a Foursquare presentation might look like. Now, this might not be the exact Foursquare a deal presentation and overcoming objections as it was trained, but the basic concepts are going to be covered in this type of scenario. They call it a Foursquare because you're going to be dealing with something that looks like that. In one corner here, you're going to have your price. You're going to have a trade value in the other corner. You're going to have a down payment in another corner, and then you're going to have a payment in the remaining corner. So in this case, if we're looking at $21,000 for the overall price of the vehicle, then we're going to have the trade value. So in our previous example, I was trading for $14,000 plus. So in this case, we would be looking at a trade evaluation that would be $7,000. Now, instead of starting a customer at $7,000, what they would typically do is they would start the deal at about half of what ACV was, so $3,500. So the goal really was to get the customer to jump up to the ceiling. So what we could do as salespeople would bring them back down and extract some type of offer. So let's say we're at $21,000 plus. Now we're at a $3,500 trade value. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to exaggerate the down payment and we're going to exaggerate the monthly payment. So in this case, maybe we're going to be $750 to $800 per month. And we're going to have a down payment of, let's say, $4,000. So with a Foursquare type of presentation, and many of you dealerships today, maybe you're using this right now and this strategy. And if you are, what I would do is I would challenge you to look at other options, as customers today are looking for transparency in the purchase process. And if they don't find it at their local dealership, they're going to go elsewhere where they can. And there's plenty of places online today that's willing to sell them those customers vehicles and be 100% transparent. I was actually having a conversation the other day with somebody that's been in the car business quite some time, and the idea of being transparent with customers was a challenge for him to understand why you would want to be able to provide real transparent information and gain someone's trust so we can get them into the dealership and have an opportunity to sell them a car. But I digress. Let's go back to this. So with the Foursquare type of presentation, we're going to be starting with the price, the trade, the down, and the payment. And the goal was, again, then to get the customer to focus on an area that would then allow us to close the deal. So if a customer says, well, wait a second, you're not giving me any type of discount, then you can move into, well, let me ask you a question. If I was able to provide you a little bit of a discount here, would I then have the opportunity to earn your business? Or the customer might say, hey, wait a minute, $3,500 for my trade. I'm thinking that car is probably worth $9,000. Okay, so we got $9,000. And then that gives you an opportunity to move into the direction to overcome those objections. If I could, would you, right? Which is, probably the most overused close in automotive retail. Same thing for the down payment. I don't want to put $4,000 down. I want to put nothing down. Well, if I could get you nothing down, would you be willing to go forward? If so, let me go ahead and get your okay right here. Same thing with the payment. I'm okay with this, and that. So you get the picture. So that is a Foursquare. So whether you're presenting figures on a difference or you're presenting figures on a Foursquare, in both scenarios, you're putting the customer in a very difficult situation. You're not being transparent, and really it is this idea is let's get the customer to jump up onto the ceiling. We scrape them back down and then get into reality and create this situation where a salesperson is going to have to go back and forth with the sales managers, right? I don't know if I can do this, but if I could, would you be willing to buy today? If so, let me go ahead and check with my manager and see if I could do that. And of course, when the sales manager is going to say, no, we would be willing to sell this for $20,500. We'd be willing to go to maybe $4,000 for the trade. Let's hit them at $3,750 for a down payment and $700 for a payment, right? And then you have to go back and then start all over again and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's the one thing that customers have told us over the years they're not willing to do any longer. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and start over, and let's think through a new and different way. And this is why I created the ePencil software back in the late 1990s. At the time, I was operating a BDC in a large volume Toyota dealership responsible for about 250 vehicles per month. And what I wanted to be able to do was to create this transparency to get those customers to come in. So by creating a multi-payment worksheet, we were able to provide estimates on down payments, monthly payments, and figures on their car, fax it to the customer. Yeah, I said that right. Fax it to the customer. This is the 1990s. Email was a pretty new thing back then, so we'd either fax or email to some customers, and some magical things started to happen. So that was the BDC that was using a multi-payment worksheet with some fast fax information, why buy here information that we would send to the customer, and then we'd just set an appointment. We'd have that customer come in for a VIP appointment. Now, let me just show you an example real quick of what that multi-payment worksheet look like, our ePencil worksheet. So in our case, what we did is we took our worksheet, and what we wanted to do was to provide full transparency and provide the customer estimates with down payments, monthly payments, and figures on their car. We'd use that word track as we took that phone call into the BDC and let the customer know, hey, be more than happy to provide you a price or a payment on a new Camry. And what I'd actually like to do is to be able to provide you with some estimates on down payments, monthly payments, and figures on your car. And then we'd move into the appointment setting process. With that said, this is what it would look like. So we'd start with our worksheet. At the top, we're going to have all the customer's information is going to be at the top there. The second section was going to be all about the new vehicle and the trade vehicle. So we're going to have that right there. Then over on the right-hand side, we're going to have full disclosure with taxes and fees, discount, trade value, payoff, all the dealer fees, registration, everything. And then over on the left-hand side, we're going to have two sections. We're going to have, on the top, we're going to have purchase payments or finance payments based on, in the way that we did it, based on an average APR, and lease payments based on 12,000 miles per year. So on a new vehicle, of course, we're going to show both. On a used vehicle, we might not show lease payments if we're not dealing with lease payments. But then this gave us the ability to move through the grids and to be able to present figures to a customer with full transparency and confidence, and then move the customer within those grids to get to the point where a customer is going to find a payment that's going to make sense for them with some different word tracks, get to the point where I don't have to go back and forth to the sales desk to be able to get a figure or to be able to get a car deal put together. So what I'm going to do is going to give you a quick example of what this might sound like when you go out to a customer and present figures to the customer. But actually, before I get there, so let me kind of go back a step or two. So we started using a worksheet like this, faxing it to customers, sending it via email to the customers that had email back then. And then the magical thing that happened is that these customers would start coming into the dealership for their VIP appointment, and they would have a payment circled. So for example, maybe they would have this payment right here circled, and then when they came into the dealership, it's, hey, I talked to David in the BDC. I'm here for my VIP appointment. This is the vehicle that I want to buy. This is the payment I want to pay. Here you go. So it was in that kind of situation, we realized at the dealership that there was a lot of power in a multi-payment worksheet by giving the customer options, choices and options to close versus a question of yes or no. So the choices and options in this case, multiple payments, and the payment grid, of course, we're going to have different down payments across the top, different terms across the left. We're going to create that grid. We're going to have multiple payments for the customer to choose from. So as we made that transition from just using this as a BDC tool or an internet department tool, we then moved into desking all of our deals with an ePencil worksheet. At the time, I called it Quick Pencil, and then changed the name to ePencil when we brought it to the marketplace and actually made it a product. But so when we made the transition and made this a desking solution, we created a way to present these figures to customers in a way that, again, allowed us to use the power of choices and options. Presenting this worksheet to a customer might sound something like this. Hey, congratulations, Mr. Jones, on finding a vehicle that you want to own. All we need to do now is figure out how you want to pay for it. I have brought you some options based on the vehicle that you want to buy and the vehicle that you want to trade in. We have prepared 9 purchase payments based on an average APR, 9 lease payments based on 12,000 miles per year. All I need you to do is let me know what payment works best for you, your family, and your budget. Go ahead and give me your okay right there, and I'll get the vehicle ready for immediate delivery. And of course, we present this to the customer, hand them the pen. You can actually even use the pen to point to the payment grid and then allow that customer to respond, giving the customer full choices and options and waiting for that customer to provide some sort of objection or let us know what's going to work best for them. And then we can move around the grid by trying to accomplish the customer's goal. If the customer's goal is to be able to provide a lower payment, of course, we can go longer term. We can go with more down payment. We can move from a purchase payment to a lease as an option. And then you always have the option of going with a selection alternative, which as part of the process, we should have set that up during the selection phase prior to presenting figures to the customer. Now, we've kind of gone all over the place today in this video. I'm going to go ahead and get things wrapped up. But as my career has changed from the late 1990s through now into the 2020s, the power of choices and options and being able to provide full transparency to customers as they're going through the purchase process has not changed. My dedication to this has not changed. The way that a customer has the ability to interact with these tools has changed a little bit. Now with Intice, my current company, we provide a full-featured digital retailing technology. Our goal with this is to be able to provide the customer to have the tools available to be able to configure payment options, lease, retail, different terms, different down payments, and get to a point that they're comfortable with the payment prior to visiting the dealership showroom. Now, with our full-featured digital retailing technology, of course, a customer can start and finish their part of the purchase process online and allow the dealership to finish the purchase process, and we can deliver the car directly to the consumer, keeping it a 100% online delivery for the customer. But we know that the idea of providing a vehicle vending machine where a customer is going to sell themselves and don't need any assistance, they're not going to have any questions about the different trims, the different options, the different colors, what's available, what's not available, and having an understanding of the value proposition of one vehicle over another, there is a big need for professional salespeople to be involved in the process. And the majority of your sales, which you know just as well as I do, are going to happen this way for quite some time. So the Intice Shopper Express technology is designed specifically to enhance the overall online to in-showroom sales experience where a customer is going to start their purchase process online and then complete it in the dealership showroom. So the goal, once we get a customer into the dealership showroom, now we have the ability to provide the customer our Shopper Express worksheet, and it's going to look something like this right here. This is going to include the payment information. It's going to include the trade information. It's going to include however the customer configured the deal online through the Shopper Express program. This then becomes the express ticket for a customer to provide that same handoff that we were doing 25 years ago with ePencil. So when a customer comes into the dealership, they can say, hey, I was on your website, schedule an appointment. This is the vehicle that I want to buy. This is the payment I want to pay. Here you go. And that is going to accelerate the entire purchase process in the dealership showroom. It's going to enhance your sales process and enhance the overall customer's experience when purchasing a vehicle. The last thing I'll say about this is that we know that the number one biggest complaint that customers have when purchasing a vehicle is that it takes too long. We're going to help with that with Shopper Express. The second biggest complaint that a customer has is the information and the work that I did online prior to coming into the dealership rarely ever translates into time savings. We're going to ensure that happens with the way that we integrate with your CRM, the way that we integrate with Route 1 and DealerTrack, where we're literally going to save the customer time, and all of the work that they do online prior to coming into the dealership is going to pay off. So I appreciate your time today, as I always do. You're going to find this video plus many others at intice.com.
The salespeople like to be able to work with each different manager the same way. So we have a consistency in how we're penciling deals now. One big problem in a lot of dealerships is that you have different management styles and different ways each manager will actually pencil a deal. And sometimes that'll create some feeling more comfortable in seeing the different options to them. Customers don't feel like the salespeople are hiding any information. We're able to give all the information to the customers, and I think they're really enjoying it.